It's time to put on my long-term glasses and find 3 players that are absolute long shots but could be viable investments in a few years' time. What's going on, guys? Matt here, back again with another video. Shout out to one of my Instagram followers, Trent aka Sangatree, who gave me this idea when I asked for content on my recent Instagram story that you all wanted to see. Make sure you're commenting on my videos and engaging because your video idea might be a future video. So we all hear the term where a player is a project and they will be a great player in years to come with time and development. And it's almost a bit of a trend with sports card investors, with players like Siku Doumbouya and Alexei Pokusevski becoming very popular due to being the youngest players from their respective drafts. I thought to myself that they could be the easy answers, but today I wanted to highlight 3 players that you probably haven't heard of in a sports card investing sense. Now, I'm not recommending you go out and buy these players because these are like the $100 odd horses you back with your last $5 hoping that it pulls through. And this is extremely high risk and more so for content. And I think it'd be really fun to look back in 3 years' time and see whether I was right or not. Some examples of projects that have worked out over the past few years are Giannis and Pascal Siakam, who both were extremely raw and loaded with potential and were able to put it together after a few years of development. I mean, just imagine how many people would have dumped not only Pascal Siakam's cards, but Giannis's rookie cards. In highlighting some examples that have worked out, I do have to highlight a couple that haven't, and funnily enough, they have both been compared to raw Giannis, and they are Bruno Caboclo and Casey Okpala. Now, the latter is hurtful to me as an investor, as I was a big believer in him, but as each month goes by without any improvement from KZ, my hope is dying, and unfortunately, my wallet is as well. But again, this is for a bit of unique content, so comment any players down below that are absolute long shots that you think could be an investment in 3 years' time. First up, the player I'm probably most confident in, if I had any confidence at all, and that's D'Anthony Melton from the Memphis Grizzlies. As of the time of recording, Melton's had a great start to the preseason, so I'm not just piggybacking off that, but if you've watched one of my recent mail days, I actually had a stack of Meltons in it. I've followed Melton since he was drafted by the Houston Rockets in the 2nd round, and I don't take into account summer league games too often, but he averaged an impressive 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals per game. Unfortunately, we were also stuck with Ryan Anderson's contract, and Melton was used to help dump Anderson's contract to the Phoenix Suns, so he didn't even play a single game for Houston. In his first 2 seasons, he wasn't too impressive offensively, averaging a below average 29% from the 3-point line, but playing solid defense. And fast forward to this season, and he's playing a critical role off the bench for the Grizzlies, being a great 3-point shooter and defender, which is a massive credit to his work ethic and attitude. I actually saw somewhere that a member of the media guessed Melton as being their 6th man of the year this season, and I can definitely see that. Now, Melton is a player that advanced statistics definitely favour, and 538 actually project him as an up-and-comer with a 5-year market value of just under $100 million. His statistics last season were decent, coming off the bench averaging 8 points on 41% shooting from the 3-point line, as well as averaging just over 1 steal in 20 minutes per game, and per 36 minutes that translates into 16 points a game with 2 steals and 1 block per game. Unfortunately, the main thing holding Melton back right now is his role and how crowded the depth chart is in Memphis, and he has Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks ahead of him, who I can't see him overtaking. Now, he does have that 6-man role locked up, and I think eventually it would be interesting to see him as a starter, and he could be a very viable 2-way wing/guard in the NBA. His ceiling is a bit cloudy, and I think at the moment I would project him at best to be the 3rd option on a contending team, being a solid shooter and defending well. I think a great comparison for Melton in the future is Drew Holiday, and whilst Drew is not really investable at the moment, if Melton does get on Drew's level eventually, there will be a rise in his card prices, especially where he's at right now. I'm intrigued to see his further development because with each season he does improve, and I'm sure most teams would love to have him. If you want a price comparison for D'Anthony Melton, he doesn't have much graded stuff out there due to being relatively unknown, but his silver PSA 10 goes for around $50 to $70 US. Moving on to the second player, and it's someone I've spoken about before, and that's Jalen Noel from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I talked about Noel in a cheap buy video, and it's funny because I literally had stacks of Noel cards in his rookie season, and I gave them away in sales. I've actually watched him play a fair bit now, and he's impressed me a lot. His rookie season was below average due to being stashed in the G League and combined with sporadic play for the Timberwolves, but last season he was able to carve out a solid role being the 6th man off the bench who was utilised for his scoring. Noel's current issue is the crowded depth chart at the Timberwolves, which includes players in the guard position like Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell and Pat Beverly, so I can't see him starting anytime soon, unfortunately. I think it may be a couple of years when Noel is stashed behind them and given minutes because of injury, which has been the case especially with D'Lo getting injured so often. I would like Noel to eventually join a team where he's given a solid scoring role either off the bench or starting, because I think he can be a very solid scorer in the NBA. He He finished his second season with averages of 9 points per game, shooting much more efficiently than his rookie season, and per 36 minutes he saw an 18 point per game average. Looking back at Noel's college stats, he was a very efficient scorer, and I think with time development and security in his role, we will see that translate into the NBA. For price comparisons, Noel's Prism-based PSA 10 goes for around $25 US. Moving on to my last long shot in today's video, and that's Vernon Carey Jr. from the Charlotte Hornets. Now, Vernon Carey Jr. is a massive hold if you end up investing in him, just because big men take longer to develop. The good thing is he has time, being only 20 years old and having only played 1 year of college at Duke. The major issue is the backlog with the depth chart at Charlotte, with players like Miles Bridges, Mason Plumlee, PJ Washington all in front of him. So all Vernon can really do right now is develop in the G League and show up in the minutes he gets given in the NBA when he can. I think he's still very raw, but has shown the ability to space the floor and shoot whilst also showing great effort down the court. He does need to improve defensively, but I think physically he has the tools to become a better defender in the league, and he's only been given one game over 20 minutes of playing time in his short career, and in that game alone hit 21 points and 6 rebounds. I don't think there's much else I can say about Vernon Carey Jr. except that he requires a fair bit of patience if you do plan to invest in him, but that goes along with the topic of today. The good thing with Vernon Carey Jr. is that you can spend $50 and get a bunch of cards because he has cards like his Silver Prism going for $5. Not recommending him as an investment, but a massive long shot of mine. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned for my next video where I do reveal my 2021 to 22 NBA investments as well as review my 2020 to 21 choices. Hit the like and subscribe button as always, and I will see you all in future videos. Take care.